Welcome back to the Ace Pod podcast. I'm your host, Braden Span, joined by Benjamin Pettigrew. Ben, how's it going?
Good. I'm excited for this episode. We got DDO. Tournament
Mm,
just finished. That was a
yes,
good tournament.
hot off the press. DDO was a great tournament. 4 rounds, kind of oddly structured.
hmm
Starts on a Wednesday, I believe. Usually those 4 rounders start on like a Thursday, but one day early, let the boys have a little bit of a traveling day back home. Um, so yeah, an odd start to DDO, but an overall a great tournament. Former Glass Blown Open, just recently. I last year, the year before that, changed to DDO, but yeah, I think a great turnout. Most of the top pros were there, 141 in men's open and 39 in women's open. So great turnouts there. I'm pretty sure there was 1,080 people in the AM divisions. So
There
tons
were
of
a lot
turnout.
of people in the AM division.
I mean, Emporia could barely hold them all.
Yeah.
um, such a small town for such a big tournament like that, but they managed to do it. So let's run down the MPO real quick. We've got Paul Macbeth, Mister Three in a Row himself, Michael Jordan three-peat.
Heck
Three
yeah.
years in a row, he takes it down, shooting 42 under par.
Once I saw that score, I was like, holy smokes, how do you
That
do
is
that? I mean, playing
just
the country
insane.
club and Jones Gold, those are not easy courses, and he just tore it up.
Well, the thing is people were kind of the talk all week was Jones Gold is the easier course,
It is.
which it
It
is,
is.
but for Paul, not necessarily. His worst round was actually at Jones Gold. He shot a
hmm
59 at Jones Gold. The rest of his rounds, the next round, he came back with his hottest round of the tournament, a 55, and then went
hmm
on to shoot a 56 and a 56 at Country Club, which I
Yeah,
believe is two 9 downs.
I do believe it is that, yeah. And I think the country club fits Paul Macbeth's game better than Jones
Definitely.
Gold does. I mean, the country club's very I mean, they got some holes where you have to smash the disc on, for example, hole one. But I mean, it's mostly technical golf, which fits Paul perfectly. Like he can get the disc far out there, but like not as much far as like other players can. But what he's so good at is how to control the disc, and I think the country club fits perfectly for him.
Yeah, I would agree, especially in the wind. I mean, that's definitely one of his stronger, he's a veteran to the game, so he definitely knows how to play in that wind. But even then, so many birdie putts were low or high due to the wind, and he could have,
Mm-hmm.
without the wind, you never know. He could have shot another 18 down round.
Yeah.
The thing about Emporia Country Club though is you think country club, you think super long. And that is true. The first hole is over 1,000 feet, but it's not 1,000 feet on every hole. It's usually around 600, 500, which is still smashes. But for these guys,
yeah.
it's not much, and it's it's
Mm-hmm.
it's more around like 700, 650 par fours, which for these guys are
Yeah.
driver, putter, and then birdie, easy.
Yeah.
So even then, Country Club is a great course, and there's a couple holes like there's a couple par threes or that one par four, the big dog leg right. That's even you start off in the woods, and you have to it's mostly in the woods. There's a little bit of opening, and then that one hole, I can't remember what number it is, but it's that one where there's that walking path on the left, and it kind of makes the green a little bit of an island on the left side, where we saw two of the four people on the card, on the lead card, went out of bounds just because it's so tough to control your disc in that wind and let it sit
Yeah.
down on that green. But overall, four great rounds from Paul. I mean, 42 under par. To there's nothing bad about 42 under par. Now, him and Calvin were in a little bit of a battle there on the front nine and in the back nine. They were back and forth, but there was a couple two-stroke swings between Paul and Calvin, and ultimately Calvin ended up finishing fourth, tied with Chris Dickerson. So we see the 5, 10, 50 boys in the top five. I mean, what else is there to expect? That is just like that is just like March Madness, and the 4-1 seeds make it to the Final Four. Now you don't see that very often, but that's what it felt like, because 1050 Club, just absolutely shredding out there. But yeah, so we see Paul and then Ricky and Eagle tied for second. 6 strokes behind him, and then Chris Dickerson and Calvin just 1 stroke behind Eagle and Ricky. But a notable name at the top, Benjamin Callaway. Dude's been shredding.
He has been playing great lately.
Yeah, he made lead card at Jonesboro. He proceeds to do it again at DDO. I mean, it's almost like he was destroying in his hometown of Iowa. He's like that local pro that never left, just stayed there. And his story is so respectable. I mean, this was his first year out on tour, and it's like he was a hidden gem that was not yet uncovered. Even though some people knew about him, he came onto tour and started playing amazing, and it was almost like if he would have been on tour earlier, he could have had some of those wins. And it's kind of like you see somebody who's really good at disc golf, but they aren't even playing pro tour yet, and then they go out there and play pro tour and they shoot amazing, and it's like this guy could have been beating Paul and Ricky. Now Benjamin Callaway, I don't know about beating Paul and Ricky, but he killed it this tournament. It's you see he's a household name now. You see him on most of these top tournaments, and it's like, he's doing it again. It's like he's not like that unknown name that makes lead card once and then you're like never hear of him again. That first day I was like, oh wow, 14 under with Eagle or 13 under with tied for second. Like that's crazy.
Made a name for himself.
Yeah, definitely. After that, no surprise, Drew Gibson, the man can crush. He finishes just 1 stroke behind Ben Callaway at 29 under par. Gavin Rathbun, the young gun, finishing under there too. Andrew Presnell, tied there with Adam Hammes, Paul Ulibarri, and Zachariah Johnson. So some notable names up there. And then Ezra Robinson, James Conrad, who you haven't heard much of this year. James Conrad, kind of a quieter name this year after the switch to MVP, but he's still doing his things. And, he's not one of those people that you would kind of think about when you think about ripper courses. You think of James Conrad more as a woods kind of guy, but, he can rip too. And he showed that this weekend. Kevin Jones also down there. With Casey White and Garrett Gerthy. Didn't shoot as well as you would have thought. Tied for 22nd with Gannon Burr and Anthony Barella, 2 young guns, but 18 under, nothing to frown upon there. Garrett Gerthy coming off the win at the Bowling Green Open, doesn't have as much time to prepare as the other guys. That might have been why he didn't shoot as well, but you never know. He only got probably 1 day, maybe 2 days to prepare on these courses. So, that's definitely something to think about. But I mean, overall, huge turnout to this open division. I mean, 141 people. I mean, that's just crazy. Kyle Klein and Ezra Adderhold did DNF. I don't know the specific reasons for that, but that did happen. So they were down there at the bottom, but overall, I would say pretty standard finish. I mean, you got the 1050 Club at the top, and then the other pros following right behind. So I would say overall a great tournament. Now, if you look at me and Ben's picks from last week, I had Eagle, he had Andrew Presnell. Andrew Presnell had a hot first round, shooting a 56. I think he was like second up there. Made lead card, I do believe, on Jomez. If not, he made it on the Gatekeeper. But I had Eagle, so ultimately I take that one. Eagle going second. But the next one, Ben kind of had the outright win. Ben, go ahead and talk us through that FPO.
All right, so we got Haley King taking out the dub with 15 under. I mean, she crushed the tournament. Like, she really did. Like, Katrina Allen coming in second with 9 down. And then Heather Young for third, finishing 5 down. Macy Walker shooting 5 down as well. And then my pick, Kona Star Panis, coming in 5th, shooting 1 up for the tournament. And I mean, I kind of destroyed you in this one because Paige Pierce didn't even play. I
Yeah.
looking for a house in Hawaii. So.
Yeah, I picked Paige Pierce here. She didn't show up to the tournament, so that's on my part. That's my fault. But Kona Star Panis, great pick there. She's been, top 5 pretty much all year. She also took it down in Waco. Haley King, I mean, took it by 6 strokes, no doubter.
Yeah.
That's great for her. I believe that's her first kind of big pro tour win. She's kind of emerged on the scene the last couple years, and I mean, she's been absolutely killing it. So I mean, yeah, that's great for her. She did win the DGPT Tour Championship last year, so I mean, I guess not her first big pro tour win, but her first big win of the season. She did take Texas State, so okay, that's my fault. But Haley King stacking up her dubs this year. Texas State's taken both of the national tours. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Especially for, I'm sure it's a great thing in the FPO world. This has kind of been a storyline all season, but finally seeing Kat and Paige, it's not just the Kat and Paige show anymore. It's Haley King, or it's Kona, or it's any of those top FPO players. Now Katrina Allen did come in second. That's pretty usual, but Heather Young tied with Macy Walker for third. So those are the people all under par. But Haley King, I mean, that's crushing out there. Did they play the same courses as the MPO, or I'm pretty sure they played different ones, right?
I'm not for sure. I don't know if they played the country club or not.
Yeah.
If they did, they played shorter tees. I'm not for sure.
Yeah.
But I think they played Jones Gold, but
okay,
I'm not for sure on that.
Yeah, well, she her second round 64. That's a 1,005 rated. Right now she is 961, and all 4 of her rounds were above her rating. So that next ratings update, her rating is going up. Katrina Allen shooting 2,000 rated rounds, 107 and 105. That is 1,000, by the way. That's 2 hot rounds from her. She shot 65 and 64. But ultimately, Haley King beat her on this last 2 rounds by 4 strokes and then 5 strokes. So Kat did not have a great final round, although she did still stick in that second place finish. So that's great for her, and great win for Haley King. Newer to the pro tour, and the young gun out here showing the veterans, most of the veterans, how it's done. So that's great. Also, we already said this, but Kona beating Paige at this one, as Paige was looking for housing in Hawaii. So no win for me there, but we're 1-1, we're even. So next week at the OTB Open, we will be talking about that. But on that note, there's not really any tournament this weekend. We have the Huck Central presented by Southern Wesleyan University in South Carolina. And then we also have the 303 Open in Fort Collins, Colorado. No surprise that we're going to see Eagle at the 303 Open. But the pros kind of split up for this tournament. This week is just kind of a rest week until the OTB Open the next week. So Paul and Michael Johansson, Zach Melton, a couple names that will be at the Huck Central tournament. And then basically just Eagle at the other one, and a couple other guys. Tim Barham's going to be there. And Nathan Quinn and Joel Freeman. So not a lot of big names at both of these tournaments. Eagle and Paul, obviously. Ricky will be taking the week off, I am guessing, just to hang out with his family and kind of deal with that recent loss of his sister. But kind of an off week for the tournaments, kind of like we saw the previous week of DDO. Mid America was actually a lot of players were going to be there, but due to the flooding and the course change, most did not make it. So no predictions this week. But we are going to be. We have a little bit of a shorter episode, and we're going to introduce a little new segment we like to call the Big Three. This is going to be most likely a one-time segment. We might bring it in a couple more times. But basically, what we're going to be doing in this segment is telling you our 3 most used putters, mid-ranges, and drivers. Now, you can't see these discs, but we will tell you about them as much as we can and use descriptive terms. But so, yeah, we've got our most used putter, mid-range, and driver, and we're just going to run you through that. Ben, why don't you start us off with your most used putter?
All right, my most used putter is a Warden, just a classic Warden. It's blue. It's a great putter. I started using this once my brother Blake, who's sponsored by Dynamic, started putting with these, and he's like, "Try this out," and I was like, "All right," and I putted with it, and I was like, "That feels great." So I actually started putting with a Moonshine Warden first, and then I got just a classic Warden, and that has really been working out well with me. It's a great putter.
Yeah, the Warden is a favorite over there of the Dynamic Discs pros. The Warden and the Judge, I know, are probably the 2 most used by them. My most used putter is actually not my putting putter. It's my throwing putter. It's a Seppo Paiu 500 Spectrum PA1. I love this thing for throwing. You may say 500 Spectrum, man, that's very stiff, but it's not at all. It's actually pretty gummy, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. Very easy to throw. If I rip it on backhand flat, it may have a little bit of turn right. If I put it on hyzer, it'll hold that hyzer angle. So overall, love the Seppo Paiu PA1. This is a signature series, and it's a collectible. It's dyed. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's my most used putter.
All right, and then my mid-range is, a lot of people use this. It's a Buzz. It's a black ink stamp, but if you throw a Buzz, you know exactly how it's gonna throw. It's just you throw it flat. It's most of the time gonna hold its line, and then this one's a little more stable, so it will finish left. But it's a great disc. I use this about every course. It's just, I don't know. It's just a great disc.
Yeah, the Buzz is a favorite of a lot of disc golfers. It's
yeah.
the most used disc, if I had to guess. Besides maybe the Destroyer, but if you buy a Destroyer, you most likely can't throw it. So the Buzz is the most beginner-friendly mid-range, and
I would say is one of the greatest discs ever, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, the greatest disc ever. One of the greatest, if not the greatest. It's like if someone says, "How did I get started in disc golf?" or "What disc should I buy?" It's always Buzz. You point to the Buzz.
Oh yeah.
Don't. The end of a starter pack is great, but starting off with one disc is important. If you just get a Buzz or a Buzz or an Emax Truth or an M4 or any company's version of the Buzz, just hone in, like play frisbee, like frisbee golf. Like if you ever played frisbee golf, just do that on a disc golf course. Throw one disc, putt with one disc, and then get down that disc, and then buy a putter and putt with a putter, and then buy a driver. And you'll easily work your way into a bag. But definitely Buzz is one of the greatest mid ranges. I just mentioned it, the M4. That's my most used / favorite mid range. I love the M4 for just about any shot, like you were saying. I can throw this thing on hyzer flips. I can throw it flat and know that it'll stay straight. I know if I put it on a little bit ante, it'll hold the ante. If I throw it hard enough flat, it'll just get a little bit of right turn and come back. If I need something to just go however I want it to go, I'm most likely going to be throwing the M4. This one is a great one I have. It's actually Prodigy discs. When they sit around and you don't throw them for 6 months to a year, the grip in them kind of starts to evaporate out onto the disc. And so this one is just like that, and I like that because it's very grippy, especially in the rain.
All right, and then my driver, so the last disc I have, I'm going to show, it's a Zeus. It's a pink Zeus. You can probably tell I really like the pink discs. but it's a pink Zeus. Um, Came out with Paul whenever to Discraft. It's a lot like a lot like a destroyer. Except I don't know what's about this the Zeus. I prefer the Zeus over the destroyer. It's stable, but once you beat it in a little bit more, if you just throw it flat, it'll go pretty straight. I use this to get distance. Um, it's a great disc, and there's I don't know, it's just a great disc.
Yeah, Zeus is definitely probably. I would say either the Zeus or the Luna is the most sold Discraft disc. I would say
Yeah.
in the last year, just because probably Luna just because putters are easier to make, but the Zeus is a disc crafter's one of their favorite drivers. If I had to guess, great disc, and even if you get it beat in enough, it can start to get a little flippy. So that's that. The Zeus is a great disc. My most used driver is a D1, a Prodigy D1. I throw this thing backhands and forehands, mostly forehands. It's my most used driver. My favorite driver is probably an X3 or a D3 Max on backhands because I can just rip those things. But I've really been loving these D1s. I've been trying to find my forehand recently, and this disc has been the perfect disc for me to throw in forehand lines. It's a little bit flippy. That's why I got it from Calvin Pettigrew. This is actually a Calvin Pettigrew special because if this man throws it on hyzer, it's going to turn to a roller. But not really. But for him, if you watch him throw it, it's just like, what the heck. But yeah, I love it for forehands. I can throw it pretty flat and it might ride to the left a little bit and come back. So definitely one of my favorite drivers in my bag. Prodigy D1. This one's a sweet one. Well, that's about all we have today. A little bit of a shorter episode due to not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's a kind of a, just DDO really. It's all that happened. I mean, I did forget to mention this about DDO, but my dad pulled out the dub in the MA40.
Oh, wow.
For DDO. Yeah, he shot a 10-11 rated round, his first round.
Wow.
So it was awesome to see. Like when he told me about it, I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then the next round, the guy in second ended up winning the day, and then my dad battled it out, and my dad ended up winning with a 2-stroke lead, I do believe.
Wow.
It's awesome to see it because, I mean, he's getting older and he's had arm problems and he hasn't been able to throw a lot, or shoulder problems. He hasn't been able to throw a lot like he used to. But I mean, lately he's been playing great, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely worth noting. I mean, just 6 months ago, he couldn't throw righty backhand.
Yeah.
He was literally throwing
lefty. Yeah.
And just 6 months later, he takes home that glass blown trophy. Even though it's DDO, they still have the glass blown trophy. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. Not to toot my own horn, but I played an NADGT on Saturday, a little 1-day 2-rounder. Played MJ 15 or 18. I can't remember which one it was. I took it down by, we won't say how many strokes, but I took it down. It was a fun tournament, and I put.
Would you play in Jackson?
Yeah, I played in Jackson at Muse Park.
Okay, yeah.
Great disc golf course. I played it, and I was like, dang, this course is a lot more gettable than I remember. Shot even in 1 down. Wish I could have shot better, but I'm not complaining. And I pulled up my PDGA number the next day, and it just felt so good to see that career wins thing pop up with that one.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. Had a lot of fun doing that. Really quickly, going back to DDO. Just kind of the Macbeth. Not even DDO, but Paul Macbeth. Kind of a slower year for him, to say the least.
Yeah.
Ricky was just popping off. He was on fire. This week I didn't really feel like we saw a lot of popping off from Ricky besides his 15 under round at Golds.
I do. He just had something happen, so I can see where him not playing as well. but I mean,
You would
second
honestly
considering.
think for a guy like Ricky, that would almost fuel him even more.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Um,
I'm sure it did
yeah,
too. I'm sure
I
it
would
fueled him.
say I'm sure it did too, and I mean nothing to frown upon. Those rounds are just
Mhm.
insane. 15 under at Jones Gold. I think that's the course record. Like that's just
Yeah, it's crazy.
absolutely insane. But kind of the storyline on, Ricky's been killing it all year, 3 or 4 wins on the year.
Yeah.
Paul took down Memorial, which not a lot of pros were at. And then he finally gets his first big win of the season, and it feels good. Eagle took the first dub at LBC, and he's kind of been the man behind this year. Even in this tournament, he didn't make the lead card until the final round.
Yeah.
So he popped off in his third round and shot hot, and that put him on the lead card, tied for the lead with Calvin Eagle, Calvin and Eagle, which it doesn't get much better. Back-to-back tournaments, lead cards. We get the big four, so that's awesome. But yeah, Paul's been a little slower this season, so it's good to see him get his first win of the season and keep him rolling. Give him some more confidence going into the next couple tournaments that are not as big. They're just A tier / like DGPT events. We've got OTB, then we got Portland coming up a couple weeks after that. So a couple smaller ones until we get Ledgestone at the end of the summer. But overall, that's great to see him. That's 3 years in a row. That's 5 in total, and that's great for Paul Macbeth. Great to see him come out with a win.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ace Pop Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Braden Span.
And I'm Benjamin Pettigrew.
And we'll see you in the next one. See you later.
See ya.